Peace. Peace, everyone.
Peace.
My name is Special Ed. I want to welcome y'all to the Knowledge Cypher. What we do here is we document and record information for our community, for our people to learn, to view, and to access through our websites, through SEAL, Special Ed Arts and Literacy, which is sealartsandliteracy.org, and through the hiphopalliance.org. And shout outs to Kurt, KRS, and the whole HHA. This is actually a leg of the Stop the Violence movement, whereas we pursue ideas, verticals, and lanes where we can use to stop the violence. So we have with us this week, Mr. Community, and he is going to discuss with us some areas of community development, organization, etc. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Community.
Yes, how's everybody doing? Thank you for having me. And then you just lead from here, but I'll start off maybe with an entry point of who I am in terms of Mr. Community. I am considered a musical legend, a Hip Hop Alliance Advisory Board member. I started in hip hop in 1981, first pair of turntables, looked up to New York, but I am based in Bay Area from Oakland, California, born and raised. Pursued music and had a little hip hop career, specifically through production and songwriting, which I was able to produce, hip hop artists such as Too Short, the Loonies, and through faith took that into being a protege of a group called Tony. Some of you've heard of them. And then that led into a broader production model where I was able to develop people like Beyonce and Keisha Cole. In doing so, since 1988, I have been involved actively in the community. So I never used the word giving back because I never left. So my family has like 80 years of community legacy of service, started with my father, who used to pick Black boys up and basically put them in the back of his El Camino and take them to the baseball field, give them a glove. So that's what I watched growing up since like 10 years old. So my whole story has always been music, sports, and community, being able to balance all of those things. So today, I am all yours. I always start with a motto of positive thinking, always being open-minded. It's like a parachute, only opens if it works. And, focus on impact and outcomes. So I'm just here today to, take any questions and also cover some things about our community. I appreciate the time. So I'm going to start with building a sustainable model in the community. So it's a lot of people who does a lot of good things in the community. And I'm only going to share some successful moments that I've had. And I mentor a lot of people in life coach organizations, specifically close to 35 years in dealing with public and educational systems. So the one thing I would like to speak to the body of is one thing that I've seen to be important with myself is building a sustainable model. Taking that 3 to 5 years, no matter where you're at in life, taking that time to actually build a model. And in doing so, you have to really submit to your purpose. A lot of people definitely don't submit to God. They really just kind of take their own lane. They kind of just do a bunch of stuff, a lot of times real scattered with it. But I'm a perfect believer that more is not better, better is better. And in my 35 years, some things that have worked for me is being consistent with that. Submitting to your purpose, knowing that God touches everybody differently, but you have to understand what your purpose is. The next one is you have to know your market. Like even in the community, no matter what you're doing, you have to know your market. You have to provide a unique service. And what I mean by that is whatever area you are in, there are certain things that's always going to be successful, which is everybody has schools, everybody has city programs, everybody has a boys and girls club, everybody has a professional sports team. In between, you're gonna have a lot of people that's doing a lot of things. I use the word competitive, but I like to reiterate that it's important that you provide a unique service. Different, like music, right? What really makes you different, which is the service. And the next one is you have to really base yourself on outcomes. I've always believed that you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, meaning that what is your story? What is your program about at the beginning? Then you have to have a middle, which is a pathway. So you have to create the resource, you have to create the data, and then also having an outcome. So, for example, while I was doing music, let's say I'm touring with Tony, I still was coaching women's basketball. I still was getting grants. I still was providing direct service, but I had an outcome. So I made sure that when I coach, that my girls, if they started in the 9th grade with me, by the time they were in the 12th grade, I brought their grades up to a 3.0 plus, but I monitored that. Another thing that I did is I made home visits, which is unusual, home visits, right? Meet parents. The next thing that was unique is actually getting them into college. So I have some kids I take, they consider it inner city from the hood, but I'm getting them into Ivy League schools through sports, through sponsors, just do different things, like doing anything that it takes. So I just wanted to start with the first one of the Cypher, which is building a sustainable model. That means something that your kids can benefit off of, something that your grandkids can benefit off of. And with our 80 years legacy of service, my father, he's 84, still doing the same thing, serving baseball. I'm serving baseball and sports and education. My daughter will be able to. So, Ed, so that's my first section, if I take any questions or comments.
That's one of the good things that you did, you know, and keep on doing it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. So where would I go to start these programs, or what resources could I connect with in order to pull these resources from my community?
So 2 ways I do it. You guys, my Instagram is terryt_Mr. Community. My email is info@youthsportsnation.org. But what I advise people to do is, wherever you're at, understanding the difference between what you're doing and maximizing what you're doing. I believe in critical partnerships. What I mean by that is, when I have a service, let's say Mr. Community, and I'm serving elementary schools, I try and meet with specific people that can specifically get me where I need to go, which is what a lot of people, I don't believe in working from the ground up. I like to work from the Mount Rushmore down. What I mean by that is, if you have a service, sometimes it's not looking where to go. There's 2 ways you could do it. If you don't have a nonprofit, you can partner with somebody that has a nonprofit, and you can start off by providing a specific service. That can be after school. You're probably not going to be in the schools. And then you learn from that nonprofit, or we call that a mentor. That's probably would be the quickest answer to the question of, is where would you go? Figure out who you are first, right? And then once you figure out who you are, link with somebody in your local community that has a great track record in doing so. Then once you learn from them, then you learn how to build your own, and then you become a partner. And then when you become a partner, then you either get your LLC from a business standpoint and do your contracts, or you get your own nonprofit and provide your services. Did that answer part of that, brother Ed?
Yes. So could you also do that as an LLC, or do you have to partner with a nonprofit in order to get those the access to the community resources?
So I think that everybody's pathway is different. So I had a different pathway. Mine was, I started off with a group of legends. We're music and sports legends. Everybody know the late Bill Russell. That's who I started with, and other like-minded legends, because I had a mission. My mission was, there was inappropriate messages in the community. So I literally left music on my own terms, if it makes sense, from the stage, to build a character called Mr. Community. So when we talk about personal services, there is no other Mr. Community in the world that's going to come from selling 20 million records and basically they call it belittling myself, but I don't think so. I think strengthening myself, because there is no Mr. Community, a modern day Mr. Rogers, a person that's specifically with that. In doing so, to stay on track, LLC, I made sure I did an LLC because I wanted to be respected and get compensated for the services. A nonprofit can be a little bit more difficult because you have to have board members, as you know, special ed, you have to have board members. It's a whole thing that you have to do. So I suggest that when people are first trying to get started, that you start off as an employee only to get in. and then you build your own LLC, and the same people that you're doing services with, you can get an LLC and you can contract and do the same services, but you would have to build out your own service, your own curriculum. So now you can look your local community in the eye, like we did with Legends, and say, hey, they always call us for autographs. They always call us to build their campaign. They always use our name and likeness. They always exploit us. No, I'm trying to get to the front of the Community Economic Development Assembly line. So when I created a model, Youth Sports Nation with Mr. Community, I did it as an LLC so I can look them in the eye and make them pay me as a business. Because the children who we serve, who I've been serving for 35 years, it's not a question of that. And I think as African Americans, where we go wrong is we always say it's about kids, right? And what I did was I volunteered in a youth center and the budget was $10 million. I didn't even know it. I'm giving my time. And I started looking at the people I was giving autographs to was pretty much using me to get the kids. And I had 200 kids coming through, no compensation. So that, if it makes sense, my earlobes went up. That's when I transitioned into understanding the economics that comes along when you're community. And when you're African-American, I call it the modern day slave trade, where they use us to do the dirty work. We got the kids, we have the rapport, but up top, there's a lot of economics that's swimming upstream, and a lot of people either don't know about it, or they don't feel comfortable enough to get it, or they're not organized enough to be able to achieve it. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone else has any questions on starting and what we just discussed, you're welcome to ask now, and before you move on into the next area discussion.
And feel free. I mean, it is really a tough time for a lot of people. A lot of people are too prideful to ask questions. And what I say is, it's not what you're doing, it's how do you maximize what you're doing. For example, I'm on tour with New Edition. They're touring like special ed, like you tour. You're doing 20, 30, 40 days. I was one of the first people to show them that before soundtrack, I'm gonna go grab 20 kids, get them to the venue before sound check. The next thing you know, they're getting letters, they're getting extra economics. So it's not what you have. It is about maximizing your economic and community opportunities, you know. I mean, me being in the music for 35 years, I was willing to learn. Never went to college. I make a joke, I went to Oakland University, which is one of the toughest, you already know, right? Like, where you from? But you learn, but you also have to, the same energy that you put in the negative, you have to have positive thinking and put the same energy in, and not caring about sag and cursing, rehearsing, that gets us in trouble, and looking people in the eye who's exploiting us, right? And still being able to have a plan, that 3 to 5 year plan. I'm gonna reiterate that, is very important, no matter what age you are. Also understanding your partnerships. How do they actually work? What is your local professional sports team? What is your school district like? Really maximizing that. Example, it was a guy I was working with. He was an Ivy League school guy. Couldn't get anybody in the building. I go get 1,000 kids, the same proposal he had in 2004. We got a $4 million grant within 2 years, and I was able to implement that. And I just walked out, right? Because that's what I do. Help, get out, sustain myself. And like I say, no curfew on Karen, man. So whether there's a lot of questions today, there's a lot of knowledge in the building. It's up for you guys to take it in. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hey, yo, peace, God, peace. Much love. Cal Papa. Yo, when you speak about opening an LLC, peace to the gods of the earth. Thank you, Special Ed, for this platform. Yo, thank you for this knowledge. I'm vibing with what you're saying. And my question is regarding an LLC, right? So if I want to open up a rental company business, having the liability of an LLC, the limited liability, how would that compare to different forms of trusts that can be established? I've been looking at that, right? So it's like, how does that money circulate back into the community where it's hip hop that's being lifted up? In those ways, you know, there's always ways around taxes. You know, there's certain entities that are here, right? And there's nothing wrong with the system. It's like, how do we exist within that system to better uplift the people in that way? You know, tax relevance, I guess, is
Well, I think to answer that, one of the misunderstand things is that the NFL was a nonprofit. Just to give you an example. So nonprofit versus LLC is not what people think it is. People think when you say nonprofit is We Are the World music coming along. I mean, it's for the kids, it's whatever. That's not really the truth. The truth is that, of course, you can have a nonprofit, but it just means non-for-profit, right? The NFL was a nonprofit. So that means the commissioner was still making $12 million. We Are the World music going on. Money is still flowing through. What I did was I did what was simple and what made enough sense for me, which is I don't want to go through a bunch of board members want to do all that. LLC serves the same purpose because guess what? I've been losing money my whole life. I thought growing up for 30 years, I'm just supposed to give my money away, right? So it's still the same purpose. So what I do is I still give through the LLC. When you get $1, you still get $1, right? And 100 kids that I put in college is still worth that $15 million, right? So it's really no different. If you go get a contract with a nonprofit, it's really no different. You can pay yourself as a salary, right? And you're still going to have all of the moving parts of economics. And that year, you're still going to have to justify how you done it, and you can do it yourself. And you can have an LLC, which is what I do. I'm doing the same work, same purpose, right? I work with nonprofits. I just chose not to do. I have one, but I chose not to mobilize it because I don't feel like doing board members and doing all that stuff. But I still do the same thing with the LLC. When I go to a school, I get a contract. It's an LLC. I'm doing the same services. I'm paying the same people, and I'm giving actually more back. So really want a role that people have to decide what works for them. In the different businesses that you have, I can't speak to it from probably what you do or carpentry or whatever, but an LLC is just basically a form of a business that protects you with limited liability. But I tell people, please don't get caught up to where like Special Ed, he has a nonprofit. I have a nonprofit. Some people have big nonprofits, small nonprofits. Some people have LLCs. I have an LLC, but my nonprofit just sitting on the floor because I needed to just work all of that I was dealing with. Then I will mobilize the nonprofit. The difference is when you have a nonprofit, a person can give you a donation and they can write it off, and they can write it as a tax write-off. That's the difference. If you have an LLC, people can't give to you. They have to be an investor and expect a return. But again, I decided to walk on my own tools and attack a problem because there was a lot of nonprofits that's out there that was actually just getting a lot of money for hip hop. When I'm hip hop, I'm legend. So I want to make sure I went against the grain, if that makes sense, and just attack it my way. I'll do contracts with people or whatever. You know, hopefully that answers the question, but I tell people there's no right or wrong answer. It's all about what you choose. And if the purpose is serving children, like I preserve hip hop, I serve children, I work with legends, I help develop Beyonce. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, what is your purpose and what are your outcomes? To me, people are real difficult with a decision. I think being very simple is very effective, is worked for me. Also, understanding your strengths has worked for me, not what nobody else does. Do what you do and how you do it and what works for you. And please don't be influenced by somebody else's success. Special ed success is different from my success, but we still walk the same spiritual. So I think a lot of people get caught up in following the Joneses. I mean, I was with Tony. So you already know we go the other way. You go right, we go left out the box. And I do everything positive, and I'm an honest person. And I've lived on that for 35 years. My dad taught me that be productive, not popular. Please do not speak to be accepted. That's really worked for me.
I think another part of that, to answer your question as well, I don't have my glasses on, that small, but basically I have well as LLCs. It just depends on the leg of business. Am I doing real estate? Am I doing music? Is this production? Is this the community sector? Is this, outreach? What kind of work am I doing? And that's how I pair it with the company that I'm doing it with. Am I booking myself to perform? Am I booking other artists to perform? Am I doing transportation for someone? Like what is the business that I'm doing, and I align it with the LLC or the nonprofit. So one of the things that happened to me was I was doing so much nonprofit work, quote unquote, or charitable work under my LLC, that it made sense for me to form a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. Because I'm making money and then really taking my own money to do the things that I'm doing because I'm doing it naturally. I wasn't with a financial plan in place. I was doing it because somebody said, I'm at a school over here. I want you to come talk to these kids, or I want you to do a program in this school for me. And I did it. You know, I always respond when it comes to giving back to the youth and anything community related where I can actually see results. I could see the people there. I could see the kids building. I'm going to the school. Those things I'm always, yes, okay, let's do that. You know what I'm saying? I have to see the results of what I'm doing. But yeah, for different activity, you have different entities that you use. So if that help at all.
Yeah, and to speak to that, what a nonprofit allows you to do is transition to somebody giving you money that you would use as your own. Somebody wants to give you, $1,000. They're not, I won't say they won't, but they probably rarely will give it to an LLC, which is a form of business because they can't write it off legally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Community, did you want to go into the next section?
Okay, so if there's nothing else, I think the next one we had was effective ways of curbing violence. I think a main part of that is understanding the connection in your resume and your entry point. I don't just serve kids, I serve adults, to be honest with you. So I will say, understand your entry point. Don't think you're the smartest in the room. Don't think you're the only person that does services. Everybody does services. Everybody's the same. And it's like rap, only 0.1% makes it. It's like sports, only 0.1% makes it. Your entry point is very important when you talk about how do you actually curb violence. I really never believed in violence prevention. I believed in violence mediation. I'll tell you why. Where I grew up in Oakland, it's just like New York. It's just like anywhere else. Nothing ever is going to stop violence. Nothing ever is going to stop because that's an economy thing. But my motto is I get people on payroll, not off parole. So I have learned that if I get them early, like I get them at 5 years old, I get them at 12 years old, where I can control the pathway, because a lot of people are reactive, not proactive. Sounds good, but a lot of people are really like not proactive with curbing violence. So what I believe, yes, please mute your mic. Peace. Hello? Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes. Okay,
I think so. So what I was talking about now is how do you effectively curb violence? I have, from traveling around the world doing it, really the only way you can curb it is being the person that you want children to be, one. So they're able to see a positive role model, but you actually have to live the life that you say you are. So I made sure when I'm producing Too Short, I'm with the Tonys or whatever, I was always Mr. Community as a person before I became Mr. Community. What I mean by that is people know that I'm not going to a school smelling like a bag of weed. People know that I don't degrade women. People know that you're not going to see strippers on my Instagram. They know that I'm actually the person that I say who I am. And that's a huge problem in the community, is that some people think that presenting a positive role model is just going somewhere saying something. But when you leave, what is the residue when they get on your Instagram? What is the living that life? I tell people it's not for everybody. A lot of my friends that's doing life right now, I'm like the pastor to them. So doing the bid is not original to me. Being in the streets is not original to me. What's original to me is can you be the person that you want our children to be, okay? And in doing so, the best way that I've seen is influence, right? So producing Beyonce may get me through the door, but it has nothing to do with my substance. That's surface. The substance is that these kids or these programs see me consistently. say I do, and I actually provide pathways. That means when a ninth grader comes see me and I put her in Stanford University 4 years later, that is what we call an outcome. That means when I go talk to a school and that kid say, hey, I was about to kill myself until you talk. Can I have your number? I give them that number and I mentor that person and I provide a pathway, right? We all know that we can't save everybody, but when you have a program, when you have the substance, not the surface, not the news, not the photo ops, but the actual substance to it, you're going to have outcomes. So to me, the best way to curb violence is to actually create pathways for youth. That's jobs, that's opportunity. I love talking. Talking is good, but once you talk, you still have to in my opinion, what's been successful for me is actually creating a pathway with results. I've been a part of programs where they take kids for 6 years until they graduate. I've been in talk to schools before, but I always make sure if I go talk to a school that school has access to me, then I may get a 30 or 50 youth that will contact me, and then I direct them in the right direction. And that model works anywhere that you go in the nation. Always going to be a school. It's always going to be disadvantaged youth. It's always going to be us that's serving children. But my father, that's 84 years old, we're still serving 1,000 kids locally in the hood where I grew up. I watched my dad put black boys in the back of his El Camino truck, drive around the hood, take them to a baseball field. And some of them kids was Ricky Henderson, and that's what I saw my dad doing. So if it makes sense, it's been a lifestyle for me, right? So in closing, it's really not a best way, but a good way to curb violence is getting them early, okay? So you're proactive, not reactive. Understand your service on how you're going to get up there. And if you don't really have the bandwidth to do it, then you just become a volunteer with somebody that is doing it. I've been able to do it through messaging. So Mr. Community, transitioning from music, I have a program where I'm literally in the school and it's myself and Lenny Williams. And my motto is get my education, love your parents, respect your elders. I'm guiding them because of inappropriate messages and video games. I've chose my pipeline to be Mr. Community. So now I'm showing all of my friends, I can go platinum without sagging, cursing and rehearsing and degrading women. And the hood love it when they show up and I'm at a stadium in front of 10,000 kids and I'm trying to put that mascot out of business, because what we don't look at is mascots that's selling Happy Meals, people selling video games, inappropriate messages. So I specifically decided to target the problem, that elementary school level before they get to middle school like I did, and they make that decision, right? So multiple ways. In closing, you got to curve it by getting them early. You have to curve it by creating pathways to success. And I'm advising everybody, if you work with children, be the person that you want the children to be. Try not to live a double lifestyle and be hypocritical when you're serving children. Nobody's perfect. I'm not. But when I tell you I used to put my donkey ropes in the trunk in the 80s and go coach kids, they never knew like nothing was going on with me. I don't bring drugs around them. I don't smell like drugs. My friends can be kingpins. They get out of 25 years. I send you out the building if you smell like a bag of weed. That's what I'm known for doing, because children should not have to be exposed to double lifestyles. I grew up old school where adults was in the front room and kids was in the room, and they weren't allowed to come in, right? So we've gotten kind of soft on that. We're, 50 and 60-year-olds on TikTok. Now they living through their children. I mean, it's really all off course right now, and it's low morale. So that's been what's been working for me. So I'll close with that. Take any questions or comments.
This is Kokalani. I just want to comment and say, I applaud you on what you're doing. I love how you said to have the pathways. I've heard before it's easier to put a fence at the top than, treat everybody with a hospital at the bottom. So you're getting the kids young so they don't fall and mess themselves up. But I love what you said about the tangible pathways, having that. Do you keep statistics, or do you keep any graph of what you've done so you can see, like, over the years, different types of results of the pathways you've done for the year, so you can like look back statistically and say, that was during a rough time, or that was like during COVID, this is what we did. Do you keep any of that? That's the first part of the question. I'll say.
Well, my first part was in 1988. I was just walking around with donkey roads giving my money away, so we didn't even know what data was. We didn't know what publishing was back then.
Okay.
But my data started, I think, in 2004 when I got that first grant, $4.5 million grant. Went into a situation, kids said what they wanted, adults wouldn't give it. So I have that data all the way from 2004 all the way to now. My first since 1988 was like a real Cypher, like a real freestyle. I just thought you're supposed to spend all your money, play with all the world in the background. Everybody used me to do whatever. And then I started getting more organized and waking up, if it makes sense, about 2003 or 4, when we were just doing so many campaigns. So yes, I do have data, and it's nothing like, the kids in college and your player call you, I'm 52, and she say, I'm 50 years old. What's up, coach? It's nothing like that. Data is when your seeds is out and their doctors and their lawyers and doing data, and then also have data on paper, which is what happened from 2004 to now. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, Chief.
Yes, that was really great because I was like, as far as people supporting and just seeing the stories, that's a great way to bring in alliances and people who want to be affiliated, because they say, oh, well, you're doing that. Well, we can tag into that. And then the other question is, you had mentioned it, and I respect what you said. You said, when you go and you speak, can people hear me, or am I breaking up? Am I clear?
I can hear you.
Okay.
You're clear, Ms. Lonnie.
Okay. What I was saying was, people, they don't realize, and I think you hit on something that I don't think a lot of people realize is, I've heard people say, well, I'm not a role model, but, as soon as you are in front of kids and you are leaving an impression, you are. But I love what you said as far as when you go with the kids, you understand the impression that you are leaving with them, and you are aware of the fact. So are you basically compartmentalizing two parts? Because, I'll give an example how Snoop, he does stuff for the kids, and Luke, he does his baseball team in Miami, and he's around kids and they do things, but there's no compartmentalization with saying, okay, well, I know these kids are probably on my Instagram, or they might hear me because they go to a chat. So do you make a cognizant effort of compartmentalizing, or do you think, in an essence, if you didn't do it, and there is no right or wrong, I'm just curious, that some people, when they see you can wear a chain and still be okay with helping people, but you make that point of saying, when I'm in front of kids, I want to make sure I'm representing in a certain way. Just what is your thought on, I understood what you said, why you do it, but for people who don't do it literally, like Ludacris has a foundation that he does, and he does stuff with, but he still, still is being a certain way. He doesn't separate it, like the person, like you said, Mr. Community and who you are. Right. So what is your thought behind that? And do you think it matters if they see someone real to say, oh, this person is real, and they show how you evolve from it, or versus just keeping it separate and they don't need to see where you came from?
Well, okay, so I'll give you the best example. My childhood friend is Too Short, okay? So you want to go there. So that's my childhood friend, right? So
Freaky Tales.
So this is what I'm saying. So I produced the Loonies, I produced Too Short, Drew Down, Master P. I produced this stuff, right? So I'm not judging. So I've never walked away from anything. What I'm saying is, I tell people, grow up. That's what I mean by that. This is what I mean by that. If you are 40, 50, and 60 years old, no matter how you made your career, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about from the time you step in front of children, there's a responsibility, in my opinion, that you should have. Because right now, everybody's groupies. This is what we talk about. This is what we don't talk about enough. We call them bobbleheads with Tony, 20 plus years. They got the first call. They the A call. I'm the B call. I'm Scottie Pippen. So I'm the substance. Then you have surface. So people call bobbleheads. They call them because they're popular. So they can show up smelling like a bag of weed. They can show up doing whatever they need to do because their call is not always for children, regardless of how they feel about children. Let's say, for example, you go to a stadium, they are playing songs that's cursing right now. I mean, they do it because that's marketing. That's different from giving. Snoop is a real dude. He really gives, right? Too Short, we just did a block for him in Oakland. Me and him have learned how to coexist. But I make it very simple that it was just my choice, if it makes sense, to be the way I've been my whole life. I don't judge nobody else for having a career, whether it's Luke Skywalker, whether it's you, whether it's however. We've all done dirt and rehearsed. I'm just saying that if we want the world to change, you may want to highly consider inappropriate language in front of children, and maybe considering if you want our children to stop looking. Now, let me ask you, what are they really looking at then? What are we really celebrating? We're not celebrating positivity right now. We're celebrating, if we right, wrong, or indifferent, we're celebrating violence, sex, money, and drugs. That's what we're actually celebrating right now. So my childhood friend, Too Short, understands that you can blow the whistle all you want, but I'm blowing the coach whistle when you come into the community and we have a great relationship. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying?
That's great. That's great. And I co-sign everything that you're saying. I just wanted you just to elaborate a little bit more on that, because like you said, I know there's some people think, well, you know, everybody evolved. And I think that's the thing, that people evolve. And like you said, to grow up. And right. I think there's some youth to say, well, I didn't grow up yet. So this is my, you know, I got an amnesty period. And I think what we're showing kids now is there's no need to go through that phase, because we know better, do better. Is that what you're basically saying? Okay, I got it.
And I'm saying too, sisters, is that I don't think people understand that a lot of kids don't look up to adults, they look at adults. So I grew up at a time where you can get your ass whooped 4 times in a day. You can get your ass whooped by your parent, you can get your ass whooped by your neighbor, because a village raised a child. You can get your ass whooped at school with a ruler, then you can get your ass whooped after school. So what happens is a lot of the violence is going on because there's no discipline point. So if a kid is looking at you, and you're doing the same dances, you're doing the same thing they're doing, in my opinion, I didn't grow up looking at Earth, Wind, and Fire, and even in rap, Curtis Blow, Melly Mel. I looked up to them. I didn't look at them. So that is my question to a lot of my friends. Well, if you're making the same thing and you're talking about violence, sex, money, and drugs, I'm not mad at you, but please don't misconstrue the messages that we're selling to children. And what are you willing to sacrifice? Now, personally, I walked away from the music industry for 5 years to build Mr. Community. So I made sure I made no music that reflected it or nothing else. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lifestyle commitment. You know, a lot of people are not willing to sacrifice that money. They're not willing to sacrifice that bag, and revenue and recognition has killed the community, actually. Because when you think about it, a lot of the focus is not on helping children. A lot of the focus on getting a bag. So I am walking, yes, I am walking proof of forget a bag, forget a dime. I'm gonna still get my dollar, but I'm still going to give my life existence through faith of trying, at least trying to be, I won't say I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to be a good person every day. You know, and that's something that I hold myself accountable for, why I still love my friends that choose to do it another way and coexist with them and support them. At Too Short Day, I'm there. But at Mr. Community Day, he there too. And I'm just saying that Hip Hop Alliance, when we talk about selling messaging, it is very tough for Mr. Community to go somewhere when they just got through hearing violence, sex, money, and drugs, and that's what's popular. It's very tough because we are not trained to celebrate anything positive. I had a white executive tell me I wasn't controversial enough because I don't sag and curse and belittle women, degrade women. So that's that next question that we talk about is, to what degree are we willing to sacrifice our children and the community for the benefit of revenue and recognition?
You better say it. Well, I thank you. And I love, one of the key takeaways I take from what you just said is the difference between looking up to and looking at. And that is very crucial. I don't think a lot of people understand that right there. The kids versus looking up to versus looking at, because that's what's influenced. But thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Yes. It's all discipline. Kids have no discipline because I grew up crack era. We spent too much time. I tell people we were the hardest, softest generation ever in America. So now our children gets the best schools. Our children gets a spoon-fed handed to them. So now a lot of them are not even receptive to public information. That's where a lot of the friction coming from, because if the child is growing up, we don't want to admit it, but a lot of our children are spoiled. Children will never go through what we went through in the crack era, right? But my father always taught me, you can be honest and you can give people hope, and you should never cut people. People cut themselves. So I have lived 30, the person that you're listening to at 52 years old, I have a strong reputation with being this way in a loving way throughout the music industry, throughout sports, and through the community. I got the same haircut, same attitude. I don't care if I'm making the hit. I don't care who it is. I'm giving it to God, and I'm trying to do what's best to advance all people. That's me. That's me.
Amen. I think Tamika Lee has a question. She got her hands up. She had a comment.
Okay. Hey, Tamika Lee.
Hi, y'all. Thank you, Special Ed, for allowing me to speak today. I really, really love everything that you said. I think it's Terry, correct? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yep, Terry, Mr. Community. Yes, ma'am.
Nice to meet you. I think what you said is very relevant to what I'm doing now. I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I write, I'm a life coach. My question to you is, I love God, I love hip hop, and I love education, and I know who I am. How do I implement faith into my youth program? So I'm constructing a youth program right now. Not only am I trying to take my youth program to the school, but I'm like building my own event as we speak. And it's going to take some time, but how do I implement my faith into my programs? Because I think also that what's missing in our youth today is acknowledgement of faith, acknowledgement of God. And a lot of times when you can't take God to the schools. So I figure like, okay, I'll build my own table. I'll create my own program where I can talk about faith. Can you give me some advice on how to do that? If to do it, or, it's always a way to do something, but
Come on now.
Can you give me your advice?
Come on now, I got you. Okay, so two things that I want you to understand. I life coach a lot of people, man. Public and educational systems are not designed for the things that you would want to do. Like, for example, when I do schools, they make it very clear that I can't pray, I can't say God. Mind you, there's different laws in different states, but most areas you can't even bring God up and pray and do all of that. Most public and educational systems are very political to deal with. I would advise for you to work with a local church and build your youth program there. I've done that before. Churches has reached out to me. It's like, hey, can we implement you? So I would suggest that you go offsite, be mindful of laws. Where are you located, by the way? What state you in?
I'm in Michigan.
Michigan, look up your laws first, but most schools you can't take anything of faith in. But what I would do is, if I were you, I would partner with a nice church and build their youth program after school. That to me should be a great entry point for you.
Can I tell you something? A lot of times, like, okay, I'm just gonna give you an example. I love hip hop. A lot of times these local churches, and even though I'm Christian, they won't accept me in because I love hip hop. Now, whereas the hip hop community, they accept me. You understand what I'm saying? So that's a challenge.
Life is a challenge. So as Mr. Community, remember, I produced it and I walked the walk. So this is what I do. You have to understand that when you're selling something, that you're very clear in what you're selling them, right? So for example, the YMCA is faith-based, right?
Okay.
So yes. So YMCA, I did a deal with them and I did it on my terms. They said, hey, would you do X and Y? I said, I won't do Z unless I can do what I want to do. So the executive director, I think he left town. I brought a construction crew in and built a 4-room recording studio before he got back, made him look at it with 200 kids in it, right? That's kind of how I get down. And they were in there praying, and they were in there rapping, and I had Too Short come by, and he couldn't sing no curse words, and I had the artist her performing, opening up, Tony. See, sometimes you have to be proactive in what you're doing. This is what I will tell you, Tamika. Everybody's a groupie. If everybody hated to do what I was trying to do at a school, but I had 1,000 kids behind me, you get me? You have to create some sense of power. You have to go get 20 or 30 girls first and then make them sign a petition that says we would like hip hop. Everything that I've done it from the community up, right? So when I implemented my recording studio at the YMCA, they said the same thing you said. We can never do that. I can't connect my name with X, Y, and Z. I said, yes, you can, because I have 200 kids that's going to come through that otherwise will be off the streets. I pulled it off because I did what I'm telling you to do is you create the demand first. Okay. You go get 20 or 30 girls or guys that said, this is what we would like to see. Then you bring it to the program. Then you put them in a position to make a decision. Make sense?
Yes, make a whole lot of sense. I so appreciate you. You gave me a lot of clarity today. Thank you. God is good.
Now, Tamika, you can't hesitate now. When we get off, this is what you have to do. You have to build your curriculum. You have to build your program. And then you can't say, you have to say, I will, right? And then when I tell you, I've worked with 7 different things. So I've done dioceses, I've done school districts.
Oh, There you go.
I think he's frozen. Are you in the Matrix?
Oh,
I think he broke up.
Oh, that was
He's
good.
in the Matrix. He's gonna have to come back.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you right now. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, I was saying that you don't even got to say that you go through faith, because people know when I'm in a building, I'm about faith because they can feel my spiritual, right? Sometimes you can just build something. You ain't got to bring faith into it. You can just happen to pray when they get there. You understand what I'm saying? There's different ways to get around it.
Yes, and I've just finished working on my curriculum. As a matter of fact, I feel so inspired right about now. Like I've accomplished everything in the world. I'm so passionate about it, and I'm just kind of like getting a date set for me to do my own program. And then I got a speech coming up in Florida for what an educational convention. So it's like things are turning around for the good. It's just going a little bit slow, but I just want to be, like you said, proactive and doing my own thing. And I've been encouraged today.
Well, I would say this, Tamika, it's never going slow. It's on God's time. Okay. So this is what I tell people. I started in music at 11 and I had a hit record before I was 20. I was doing Beyonce. I was 23, 24. I didn't care about none of that stuff. It's God's time, right? Sometimes God is telling you you're moving too fast. Slow down a little bit. More is not better, better is better, right? The one thing I will tell you, when you build your curriculum, this is what you do. When you say, I do my own, you're going to own your own and still work with people. See, it's different when the rabbit get the gun. What happens is when you go to the same program and say to the church, now I have my own program, I would like to partner, Tamika. I would like to partner with you. I would like to do from 3:30 to 5:30. This is the curriculum and this is the economics to do it. The first thing that they're going to say is, we don't really have a budget. Great. I'll do it as a pilot program. You follow me now, right? And then what you do is, like me, I build my data. I just build my data, because you have to remember, if you do a partnership with somebody, don't look at the economics, don't look at the crumbs, look at the broader picture of building your model. You're going to utilize them for marketing. You're going to utilize them for data. So now I can say, as Mr. Community, I engage 1 million kids, got deals with Major League Baseball, everything that everybody said I would never do, I've done. And I reshifted my music industry talent towards serving children, because I never left it. It's really not difficult. You just really apply it and don't get caught up in not submitting to God. Like when you start putting these false expectations on yourself, I'm just telling you that is a crash course and a disaster. It is God's time, and you have to be patient when you want to be successful. If not, you won't have a sustainable model. With Tony, we only released 4 albums. Anniversary still plays to the day. Now people release and post their food every 2 days. That's just not me, right? So what are you looking for? If you're sustainable, Tamika, you're going to put your program together and you're going to be patient and say, you know what, it's God's time. It's God's time.
Thank you for that reminder. I needed that, because I can't go.
Hit me anytime. No curfew on Karen. Hit me anytime.
And I just wanted to add to what you said, because I'm active in faith-based organizations here, and I wanted to let you know that you could start at your own church, whatever church you belong to, because typically a lot of the ministries, they work from inside out and take referrals from inside out. So it's not like people approaches church as a knocking on the door, hey, I want to do this. They're already in the fold. So if you belong to a church or you frequent one, being familiar with the different ministry leaders who are there. So when you present it to them, because they have festivals and different things of that nature, and they're always looking for people to contribute, but you got to be part of it so they know who you are versus just knocking on the door.
Amen.
I would advise that.
There you go, Ms. Coker. Amen.
Copy. I see Dawn's hand was up. Do you have a comment or something you wanted to add, Dawn? Oh. All right. Yeah, anyone else want to comment about that? I would just like to say how I look at this whole thing is, let me put my thing on here. I do what I do for the result, right? So nothing I'm doing at this point is for the bag. Like when you're serving. If it's there and there's a means for it to get taken care of, it will. But I'm not looking at, I want to go help these kids so that I could get rich or I don't have to work. That is work. So I look at myself, what the results are going to be for those children. I think of myself sitting in school and wondering why nobody ever came through, a policeman, a fireman, and a councilman. Marty Markowitz, he used to come through when we was little. For what? But for, you know, I was confused. Why is this dude here? You know what I'm saying? But it's that connection. See, we understand the connection that the kids have to us, and we have to reciprocate, and we have to go and reach out and touch these kids and let them know that we are listening and we are here and there for them. And that's really what it's about. So whether you want to use an LLC or a nonprofit or a partner, and I would say too, to the young lady that was talking, I know we all want to be proud of ourselves. We all want to be a boss. We all want to accomplish things, but it does not always have to be alone. Most things that are successful happen through partnerships and with other people involved. You need a team. For any success that I've ever had from music and otherwise, it's always team involvement. It's always more. I can't do anything by myself. Even this here, I have a team with my organization. I have team members on the Zoom now. I have team members helping me organize and put together. I understand the dynamics of success. So if you're looking for success, look to work with people, like-minded people that also want the same things you want. You don't have to go it alone. You don't have to think about this path alone. Think about, how can I work with others to achieve the goals? Because once you have others vested and involved, you have more energy going out to push the message, to market, to bring people in. So think about that, and just think about partnerships and just seeing who's already doing what you want to do and learn and be inspired from them and join them too. It's not a competition. It's a collective effort when you're doing service. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and that's the piggyback on that. What's cool, what I like about special ed is that what he's saying is like everybody has a different journey. Now, you have a lot of people that they have to actually feed their family through nonprofits and through working, because that's what they do. You know, we were fortunate enough to be in the music industry, so we created our income. So when I get certain people, you have different tiers. It's like classism sometimes. You, like us, we're legends. We're kind of like not going backwards, but we're just better utilizing ourselves, right? Because we spend a lot of our time on tour. We like, especially as said, we didn't see many role models coming in. We are that. But what I like about what special ed is doing, I'm not saying we grew up together, but we will soon, because I've seen his growth, right? Because people don't understand our story of how record companies, bad contracts, and we were giving back to children. He put a structure behind what he probably been doing or loving to do, right? Because that's what maturity does. And then also you have certain people that's not blessed enough to come from music and sports that actually is just working somewhere, and they want to start their own and transition into partnerships like special ed spoke on. There's no special way to get there. But the one thing you will get on this Zoom call today is different options. And I would tell you this, my father is going on 55 years of volunteering, okay? He is 84 years old with blue blockers, okay? Doing direct service in the hood I'm from. Nobody can outwork my dad. What I did speak to my dad about is we overlook the importance of community and development economic opportunities, which means that what I do is I negotiate like a union and go in there and get the best resources for the African-American community. I am looking corporate in the eye and redirecting funding. That's God's work, right? I understand it. So I put my email in here and my Instagram as well. If you guys just want to email me after this and just get some, consulting or whatever, it's Hip Hop Alliance on mine, it's Special Ed on mine. You're in my life forever now. We family. It's good. Cool?
Amen. I see Dale has a question, Dale.
No, I just wanted to do a comment, but I did have a question, but it just slipped my mind. But I'm doing that, like you said, I'm trying to build my community up with this, holiday that I'm trying to get, to be launched. It's a John Lewis holiday that I started trying to launch it in January, and I have somebody that is helping me with it. But I want people to get involved with me, to help me get it to, get the partition and everything to pass, so that it will be official holiday. So I just wanted to comment on that and thank you for that encouragement, because I really needed that push. So thank you.
No problem, dear. Hey, man, call me when you get it done. I'm on the airplane to celebrate it with you, okay? No problem, man. I have a little day after myself out here. When you're trying to pass something, try and go with a council member that can really get it through, somebody with some integrity. And then a lot of times, if you have people sign petitions and stuff like that, it can move forward. But like with Lenny Williams and some other people, it took like 5 years for them to do one person. It took them 10 years to do another. I mean, they definitely don't move fast with somebody Black as well. They definitely are on track team for that, right? But guess what, Dale? When you get it, when you get it, I'm on the airplane, man. I'm coming to celebrate it with you, man.
All right, then we'll get it done. We'll consider it done.
You will. That's HHA, man. Appreciate you. Okay, it's on you, Ed. Anything else or any comments, any questions?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it was very informative. If you have well, we coming up on the time now, but if you have anything else you want to cover, we can get to that.
Yes, I mean, like my last one is understanding the importance of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Okay, I did not need help. I did not need help with people telling me I served 1 million kids. I care less about that. I am trying to empower people to tell people stop apologizing for caring. And if you're in your community, the only thing that will make anything move is resources and economics, okay? That's the only way that you can move your community. I'm not talking about volunteering time right now. I'm not talking about the work we put in. You have to learn how to leverage pathways for children, okay? You have to understand your economic value. It's not healthy if special ed walks into somewhere and he's signing autographs and he's spending $100,000 of his own money and they have a $10 million budget. That's where we go wrong. You have to be willing to say that as African Americans, if we want to get to the front of the line, we have to stop apologizing for understanding the economics that comes along with building your company, building yourself. And if it's hip hop, if it's sports, if it's community, why should corporate America be at the front of the assembly line? And a lot of times, a lot of people not getting the direct service. I know special ed, you know what I'm talking about. They're not getting the direct funds. They send it to public educational systems. Then, excuse my language, they pimp us in the community because we for the kids, and then we never get an opportunity to impact the people. I really want to leave with the importance of, if it's one thing I would like to empower you to do, is not apologize for your economic worth. Bill Russell never made probably $1 million, and LeBron James is a billionaire, but he still got 11 championships. And that's one thing he told me about as young man. When you do Mr. Community, you get out there like a union rep. You get out there like Hip Hop Alliance is trying to do through reparations, and the only way we can get it is understanding our economic worth, something we've deserved, and I will not apologize for it. And anybody on this line, call me, and I'll be at the front line negotiating and helping you as well. I will leave with that, and it's love.
Amen. We appreciate that. I know there was a question here for you, but everybody, please be sure to check out the chat and fill out the contact form. This is so we know who you are. We know that you would like to participate in the Stop the Violence movement, in the knowledge ciphers, and any ongoing understanding, information, or resources that have. The contact form is in the chat, so please don't forget. But I do have the question here from Dawn. She is at work and probably we don't want her to get fired, so I'm gonna read this question for her. How did you transition from We Are the World and spending all your money to the organization and preparing proposals for grants? I do a lot of community work with my own money.
I got with about 10 different sports legends. Some of y'all may know Bill Russell, a guy named John Madden. It was different people that watched me build everybody else's life. If it makes sense, I'm like the Scottie Pippen, everybody else the So you may not know me, I produce Beyonce, but I'm in the credits, right? Because I'm Scottie Pippen. So it was actually the sports legends that pumped me up and said, let's stop spending our own money. I'm going to give you a 3-year mission. And if you can go get contracts with 7 different entities, you're going to do something nobody never done. And it was checkbox after 3 years. And it didn't, if it makes sense, I looked at my father at 55 on.
Give him a second to calibrate. Technology is amongst us.
Okay.
Okay, you back now. You just froze back right now. You can go ahead, Mr. Community.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know where I left off, but I started off with partnerships with about 10 legends, Lenny Williams. We all got in a room and they appointed me as the unofficial union rep. I'm like a union with no union, right? And I went out there and they put together a mission and said, forget spending our own money, go try and get 7 contracts with public and educational systems, put the proposal together. How did I did it? I learned from this dude. He was in Ivy League and he had these YMCAs. And I said, I'm gonna let him use me as Terry T, get these 1,000 kids, and I'm gonna use his mind. I'm gonna learn from him. I actually learned what PowerPoints was, never been to college. I went to Oakland University, the HUD. I just learn. And the only thing I would tell people, it only works if you got talent, and it only works if you care. And especially I know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of a-holes in the industry, and only because they're a money machine, people tolerate them, but they won't get a phone call once they transition out. I've always been cool. I've always been accepted. So to hopefully that answers your question. I had to do it for my father. I had to do it for the sports legends. I had to do it for the music legends because it's called equity. It is called equity, something we deserve. Something that we're afraid to speak about. Well, we talk a good game, but we're afraid to throw the results out there and compete. That's what made me do it. It was fun, actually.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you, Mr. Community, for your contributions here today. And you're always welcome to come back and do another knowledge cipher if you want to expound or add on, cover any other areas of interest or topics. And I want to thank everybody for coming through. And if there was any part of this that you missed, there will be a link with the full session available on sealartsandliteracy.org and the hiphopalliance.org. And this will be archived. This is public. This is information for our members, for our people, for our community. So it will
also
always be. Yes, sir.
Also, too, I'm going to tell you guys this. Don't let nobody stop you. I mean, I got a Hip Hop Alliance because I was with Tony and Melly Mel. We was on a cruise ship. He lifting weights. And I told him what I had with Mr. Community. He's lifting weights. He said, tell me about it. It only took me 1 minute and we was friends. 5 years later, he called me. I worked with Curtis Bowl a long time ago because he never forgets Mr. Community, because I am telling people, your life is an A&R meeting. You got 10 seconds to figure it out. 10 seconds to tell somebody who you are. When you go in there, light up a room. Stop rehearsing. If you're a dude, stop talking with the Barry White D boys. I got to do this, dude. I got to act this tough guy stuff. Cut it out. The hood is a scam. At the end of the day, Cats is transitioning home from jail, trying to be what I've been. You feel what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I just had this thing growing up in the hood. You can trust me with your life. You can trust me with your wife. If I can do those 2 things, I can live. I'm 52. I'm living, and life is not over for me. Okay. And anybody that's on this line, it's not over for you either. God is good. Special ed, anytime you need me, no curfew on Karen. It can be tomorrow. Okay. That's the way the world has to work. We have to be intentional on what we're saying, and we can't let people deter us from positive energy. Positive energy is missing right now. I'm telling everybody, drop the ego, drop your past, look forward to a better future. And if you don't know how, if you don't have a personality, grow one. If you don't have any principles, try and find some, okay? Because everybody got a hood story. I'm graduating from that. The world has to get back to positive energy, respect for people, respect for your elders, respect for our kings and queens. It has to get back to that. I'm living it, but I'm challenging anybody outside of me in a positive way. Please think about what I'm saying. You can be that person like me with Too Short and all of my friends. You can be that change. Stop asking for from other people. Stop letting other people validate who you are. A lot of you think, well, we got Beyonce at 14, she was already singing how she was singing. No, we moved them to Oakland, developed her. You think Special Ed always had it made? No, he made the song, then he got it made later. That's how life works. But you have to be willing to mature. If you are 40, 50, and 60 years old, still talking the same, dressing the same, being the same, you need to take a meeting with yourself, go have a conversation with God and submit, change your life, man. I leave with that. It's one love.
Amen. We appreciate that. We thank you very much. Before we close, I would just give the floor to anybody that would like to share a comment or share anything before we wrap this up.
I want to thank you, Mr. Special Ed, for allowing me to be here with you guys again. This has been a lot of fun. I gained a lot of knowledge, and let's go ahead and get things done.
Amen. Anyone else?
I just want to say thank you for taking your time out. It was very informative, very inspirational to everybody in here. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. I see Lighthouse hand up. You want to say something, brother?
Peace, everybody. Peace, man. I just want to say thank you, man, to the Hip Hop Alliance, Special Ed, Seal, everyone on the call, Mr. Community. It's an honor and a blessing and a privilege to be here tonight, man. And man, I'm at a loss of words. I can't even believe I'm in the room with y'all. Isn't it crazy how you were saying you can't bring anything about God into the schools, but the first thing that they make the kids do every day is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Come on now.
One nation under God, right? Isn't that crazy? But I don't want to really be too long-winded. I'm just grateful, very grateful for the opportunity to be amongst giants, kings and queens, man. Peace. And then also, I had an idea for a very long time. I know it's not just gonna be like a overnight thing. Real quick, a little bit about me. I'm a certified special ed teacher. No pun intended. No pun intended. I'm getting a crazy crazy echo in here. But then in addition to that, I also have a background in social work. At one point in time, I was a community outreach director. So I do have a lot of experience in working with the youth. I also served in a bunch of other capacities. And but the idea was to try to implement the gospel of hip hop into schools as a part of the curriculum, as a means of early intervention and prevention to save some of these kids. The salvation right now, because right now it's just a lot of, like, as everyone's aware of, it's a lot of negative messages, a lot of negative imagery going on. And, you know, it's not just the kids, adults as well. So, you know, I thought implementing the gospel of hip hop into school districts, having like pilot programs, I thought that would be a very powerful tool and resource as a means for these kids to get a real knowledge of the history of what hip hop really is, and not what they see on the TV and hear on the radio all day. So much more I could say, but I'm just grateful for this time and opportunity to speak. So I want to thank everyone, man. Salute, much love. And the name of this business I just started, is Lighthouse Vision LLC. I started in July. I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate everything. I'm also part of the Rutgers University Center for Urban Entrepreneurialism and Economic Development. I don't know what my role is in working as a community outreach director. I already know, man, that these systems are very, very difficult to navigate. The politics are very difficult to navigate. At a point in time, I felt like I couldn't be stopped, man. And then a couple of years ago, I hit a brick wall. And then recently I started trying to rebuild and everything. So I'm very grateful to be a part of this. Shout out to the Hip Hop Alliance, man. Much love.
Can I
Peace.
answer that? Yeah.
Where you located? Yeah, I just wanted to know where you.
I'm in Jersey. I'm 10 minutes outside of the Lincoln Holland Tunnel. I go to the corner of my street and I'm looking at the Manhattan skyline.
Copy that. Okay.
Yeah, right. I'm right there.
Go ahead, Mr. Community.
Yeah, before we go, brother, two things. You've never stopped. Life is a computer. It's just a reset button for you. Okay. Door number two, when you want to do something, you don't have to say you're doing it, right? So if you take faith out of it and God out of it, and you just introduce the program, you don't have to state the obvious, and then you just get going. See, you don't have to say it, you just be it, right? Because you're spiritual. I can feel you're spiritual through this. And then also too, my email is on here because I consult for a living. Like literally, I'll get you to the promised land. When you say I don't know your role, God already told you your role. I already knew I was a professional Scottie Pippen. I knew that I can build any superstar, any whatever, however. And I will finish with telling you this. Guy walks up to me like you. He walks up to me at the end of an event. He said, man, I'm a compulsive gambler. I got a problem. I always bet and I lose. I'm trying to get a raise. I just told him one thing simple. You always bet and you lose. He said, right. I said, yeah, you ever bet on yourself? And he just stopped. Within 1 week, I made him realize you never bet on yourself. That's why you got to bet on everybody else or rely on the system to define you for you to say, I don't know your role. You know your role. God already told you your role. You just need to execute what your role is. So 1 week later, he finally goes to his boss and he gets a $15,000 raise because he said, Mr. Community, I finally bet on myself. Come on now.
That's the word.
Life is a reset button, my brother.
Amen.
Everybody in here, I just want to remind you, he put his information in the chat, Mr. Community, his email, so go to that. But also Lighthouse, I was going to remind you, please fill out the contact form with your name and your community and the organization that you represent, so you can be a part and they can have your information in a database for Hip Hop Alliance and SEAL.
I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna put my, do me a favor, y'all. I'm gonna put my cell phone in here. Just text me, don't call me. I'll talk to you after I read the text, but I put my personal cell in there. Is that cool? Because I hate when people give me emails. I ain't gonna be critical.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think it's good for everyone to communicate. Like Mr. Lighthouse, man, like you have some experience there. So even though you may not have pinpointed exactly how you gonna pop or bust what your vertical is, you have a lot of people here that's community driven and can help to guide you into what may make the most sense in your situation. You know what I'm saying? So just like stay tuned with all of us. Just stay tuned. We'll be doing more knowledge ciphers. We'll be doing Zoom calls with the Stop the Violence movement, and you'll be able to experience and see all the people that are involved and what we all bring to the table and how we can help each other. But don't lose faith in what you do, because you've already done it. You've done the work, and now you're just at the point where you probably just need to reach out your hand to the man beside you or the woman beside you and pull them across to the other side and do it together. You understand? Like there's direction, there's purpose, you know what I'm saying? Everything will unfold. You're not doing all of this blindly or for no reason. It's definitely for a reason, and you're going to figure it all out right now. Right now, you're doing the learning process. You're learning the learning curves, brick walls you hitting. All of that is part of your journey. And now you, however many years in, now it's time to manifest and start opening all those doors and removing those stones. You know what I'm saying? We're going to break that wall down.
God willing, God willing.
And hey, I just want to tell you this, man. My partner did 28 years. He came back home, saw me in the school, one of the biggest dope dealers ever. He was good within 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, trust me, man, that pandemic beat us up, man. Trust me, it's a reset. It's just renavigating. I just wanted to finish with telling the SEAL Foundation, Special Ed, everybody, thank you for having me. I'm always energetic like this, so I apologize. There's any energy that went over your head. I'm like this all the time. Get used to it, all right? So you can have me back anytime. I will have you in my life forever, and it's all good. Okay, love y'all. I just want to end with that.
Cool. Yes, sir. We're good. And thank you to everyone. We appreciate you over here at Special Ed Arts and Literacy. And like I said, if you didn't catch this whole session, it will be up on the website as well as the HHA website. So I want to thank you all for coming. You all have an amazing night, week, and be blessed and find peace, please.
Peace.
All right. Peace, y'all. Amen and good night.
Peace.
Peace. Good night. God loves you. Take care.